Hello everybody and welcome back to Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing and welcome back to the PASR MX-5 Cup. We are here for the sixth and final round at Brands Hatch. Jack Werrell joining you in the commentary box once again, this week with Zach Sweeney. We'll get to a chat with Zach in just a few moments time. Of course, we've got Tom O'Farrell, the broadcast director, showing us the brilliant imagery we can see behind the graphic at the moment. And of course, Mick Sutton, the man behind it all at PASR, the series organiser. As mentioned, we are here for the sixth and final round at Brands Hatch. We kicked off the season 6 weeks ago on the national layout at Donington Park. Since then, we've been north of the border into Scotland at Knockhill, in sort of northern England at Croft. Then we went right down to Castle Combe, up towards Cheshire for Alton Park, and then we're right the way down in Kent to round it all out at what is quite an apt place. And usually what decides championships does Brands Hatch GP. So Zach, coming into this evening, I'm sure you've probably watched a little bit about how the series has sort of shaped up and how it's moulded itself into the position we currently are heading into the final round. What are you looking forward to?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I got asked to come and do this broadcast yesterday, so I've been very frantically rushing about trying to learn as much as I can about it. But the bottom line is, we're in MX-5s and we're at Brands Hatch with, to be fair, some fairly recognisable drivers. What I can tell, a fairly stacked championship, particularly, obviously, that fight for second. A good few drivers in the mix, and of course, a decent amount of prize money on offer as well. Two 20-minute races, MX-5s, Brands Hatch. What can go wrong?
Well, I'm sure we'll be able to put an answer to that in around about an hour's time. But in terms of the championship, as mentioned, Zach, this is how close the drivers are. Carl Felvis up at the top of the order. Has he spent most of the season, really? He's drawn up, 4 wins to his name, a couple of second places. Funnily enough, he's never taken to the third step of the podium. He's either won, finished second, or off the podium completely. He's up there on 239 points, 19 points clear of James Pepper. If he scores 12 points this evening, so arguably, if he finishes race 1 provisionally, he will be the PASR MX-5 Cup champion. James Pepper, again, consistently on the podium. He's finished third 3 times, second once, first once on 220 points. He's only 3 points clear of Nathan Williams, who's tied for third place with Luke Sintler. 9 points back is Leo Bell, 7 to Kieran Roberts, 7 to Harley Connolly, who isn't here this evening. So Jordan Taylor, who is just a little bit further behind, you'll expect him to jump up, so too with Harry Dios and maybe Thomas Potter as well. And there's a few names that maybe we could see slowly start to creep up through the order. Olivia Kronoska, she's back this evening. If she gets a good haul of points, you never know, she could be edging her way towards that top 10, but it will be a tall order. In terms of what the drivers are fighting for, there's prize money up for grabs, as there has been all season. If you do finish on the podium, you do get your hands on £5 cash, irrespective of which step, first, second or third, £5 cash for the podium. And at the end of the championship, so come the end of this evening, if you do win the championship, you get £60 in cash. If you finish second, £40 in cash. If you finish third, you get your hands on £20 in cash. So in terms of how qualifying's going, you can also get a point for that. So a point for qualifying and a point for fastest lap. That is underway at the moment. We might just have a bit of time to maybe have a look at what we've got coming up. So here we've got Carl Felvis just coming towards the second sector. We're looking over the start-finish line as drivers are coming over the line. So here comes Carl Felvis towards the stripe for I think, the 4th time. Does jump up. He remains on the second row of the grid, but this time the inside of the second row with a 1:38.033. That puts him just over a tenth away from pole position, just a couple of hundredths away from James Pepper, who was that in the background that was getting all sorts of crossed up, desperately trying to hunt him down for a little bit of time. Looking at that, I would suspect that we've got Kyle Felvis, James Pepper just in front. I think that was Nathan Williams that's pushing on as well. So maybe these three, Zach, are trying to work together, see what the cars handle like in the draft, and see if they can maybe explore a bit of extra circuit, find a bit more lap time later on in the session.
I mean, it always assists to be with someone. As much as it is sometimes nice, don't get me wrong, to have tracked yourself and you just focus purely by yourself in isolation, there's something about being with the pack. I mean, in situations like this, it's not ideal because obviously they're all slowing each other down. But when you have a little hint of a slipstream, even at a circuit that's fairly technical like Brands Hatch, it can help. And then obviously if you've got a driver, say the one now going up through Dingledale into that, obviously the blind apex right-hander, you can also sort of gauge your lap time off them. You can see if you're on a good lap by how much distance you close to them. You can gauge how slow your lap time is by how much distance they gain on you. But something about following a driver, for whatever reason it is, somehow, because you're chasing them and you get that sort of racing driver instinct as such, I suppose, is you are then motivated to go and catch them. And you generally do find yourself going a little bit faster. So maybe this is a little bit of a tactic for them. Of course, for Carl Felvis, doesn't really matter as such. As long as he takes to the grid and finishes a lap, effectively he's the champion. So he's just out there probably to see how well he can end the season.
See, you'd say that, but having spoken to Kyle every single round, there's a running joke between myself and Kyle. I'm convinced he must be bored of talking to me, because every single round since day dot at Donington Park, we have had one reason or another to talk to him, whether that's because of pole position, whether that's because of a podium in the first or the second race. We always find a reason to talk to him. So knowing him better now come the end of this season, following on from previous seasons, he's out there to race, and he will do everything he can to make sure he wins. But a very clean and a very fair driver, I think, is Kyle. And we've seen teamwork work for him before. He's not necessarily flying solo this season. He is still with HFT Racing, but his teammates not in similarly sort of liveried cars. At the moment, he is up very slightly in Sector 1. However, he is catching James Pepper and Nathan Williams. That might slightly compromise his line, because all of that aerodynamic assistance he's gaining, that all sort of translates into top speed come the end of the straight, and all of that momentum has got to go somewhere. And if you've got James Pepper or Nathan Williams, or in this case both in front of you, you might just have to graze the brake or lift off very slightly through Dingledell. Max attack, slight bit of oversteer from Carl Felvis, very well collected up. A little thing like that into Sterling's. He wasn't necessarily offline, but he was just a couple of maybe a car width slightly further inside than he would have liked, so that will have slowed that maximum speed that he could carry through the corner, and we might not see an improvement. Sector 1 now 85,000 down towards the line. We won't see an improvement, I don't think. Nathan Williams, he will dive straight into the pit lane. We've still got 6.5 minutes of the session to go, so that could be maybe tyres, maybe a bit of fuel if he's under fueled. But of course, if you are out there in qualifying and you do under fuel and the car does stop, you just have to pull over and sit at the side of the circuit or somewhere that is safe to do so. You cannot play any further part in the session. You can't just go back to the pit lane once you're out of fuel. Sam Chilton, he's been a talking point throughout this season. He's been getting quicker and he's had some good performances. 2.9 seconds off pole. I'll eat my words in a minute. If he goes quicker, that time 3.3 off. So I'm guessing a slightly slower Sector 2, or just working his way through and past a little bit of traffic. I think that is potentially Nathan Bell just sat behind him. Yes, it is. So he might have had to navigate a little bit of traffic. But keep an eye on Sam Chilton. He's just edging his way into the top 10. Olivia Kronoska, again, she's back this evening. She's currently sat 10th, provisionally, of course. Just coming out of the pit lane, I think, as well. With 5 minutes of the session to go, that's plenty of time to chalk up a couple of laps and maybe some improvements. But Luke Sintler's pole margin has just extended.
Yeah, 0.3 of a second. I mean, that's definitely not bad going whatsoever. And you can see out there kind of by himself, of course, has got a car just ahead, but maybe just a nice distance away that he's getting a sort of a sniff of slipstream, and then also going to try and chase them. Of course, we were talking about being a very phenomenally quick driver, one that maybe sometimes goes a little bit under the radar, but for a season finale, maybe the one round of the season where you maybe do want to impress more than any other. Of course, he's out there and he is absolutely flying a 37.719, a remarkably quick time, and of course, yeah, remarkably quicker than Pepper or on, of course, the front row. And of course, for Sintler, he's in a direct fight for second place in the championship, plus the £10 prize money for the both podiums. He could be walking away today with 50 quid in his pocket if he's able to secure second place.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely can't rule him out for anything. This man here, he desperately needs to improve. Jordan Taylor, 11 seconds away, so definitely not a representative lap time from what we've seen from Jordan. He's currently sat P8 in the championship. He's chalked 2 wins to his name, one at Donington Park, one at Croft, both in race 2s. So whether that is aided by the reverse grid or whether he is just slightly quicker at carving his way through the order, now we see the first representative lap time. I'm going to say that's a banker, a 1 minute 38.989. 1.2 seconds away, a lot more to come, I think, from Jordan Taylor. At the moment, he's sat behind Ash Hill, so he's on the inside of what is row number 4. Nathan Snaith in P8, that was the car we saw Luke Sintler following through the woodland section of the circuit and then in towards Clearways. So whilst Luke hasn't improved, the worst thing you're going to get out of a slower lap is that bit more track knowledge. You might not necessarily find something quicker, but you find something slower and go, right, let's not attack that curb as much, or let's turn in a bit later to avoid that curb, or whatever it may be. Every lap will count towards something. Ash Hill, he's been getting quicker as the season wears on as well. He joined us partway through at round 4, so that was Castle Combe, and he's finished well. He finished very consistently. I think he finished 5th both times last time out at Alton Park. I think he had, a 4th place? Oh no, sorry, he finished 6th last time out in race 1 and race 2 at Alton Park. He then finished what was 4th at Castle Combe. in race 2. He had a slightly poor race 1, but of course he was just bedding into the championship. He's well and truly found his place in the championship, and he's expanding upon the pace and the good bar that he set for himself, arguably, at the first round. So at the moment, currently sat provisional P6. Heading into the final corner now is Nathan Williams, still with James Pepper in hot pursuit. But Nathan, he could be the only thorn in his side here. A small mistake on the exit. What he's done is lost all of the time he may have gained, but given James Pepper a beautiful aerodynamic assistance around the Brands Hatch circuit. Does James improve? No, not this time. Still 3/10 away, and 3/10, it doesn't sound like much, but if you're already convinced and in your own head saying there's no more time to be found, that becomes a slightly more insurmountable feat. Thomas Potter, he's been getting his elbows out so far this season. Does he elbow his way up the order? Yes, he does. Provisional P11, 1 minute 40.732.
Yeah, not a bad lap time, of course, about 6/10 off the top 10. So with a couple minutes left to go in qualifying, I believe if he has got enough fuel, this will be his second to last lap. And it is always good, particularly at a circuit like Brands Hatch, to do consecutive lap times. I mean, these MX-5s, yeah, they will wear their tyres down, but they should be able to do at least a couple of push laps consecutively without wearing them out too much. Obviously, from my experience, I've done a couple of racing competitions here at Brands Hatch, albeit in F4 machinery. It pays really nicely to do that consecutive lap time. Like you say, you learn a lot. You can figure out what works, what doesn't work, and also just that rhythm. The first lap you do, you're a little bit shaky, the nerves are there, obviously you're just trying to dust off some cobwebs, but then you do the second one and you feel more in tune with the car, you know how it's going to behave, everything's up to temperature, you feel a little bit more relaxed, and you can gain that lap time. The only thing that is going against them, again, as you say, this late on in the session, everyone is so close to their optimum and the peak of their potential that each improvement becomes that little bit harder. Their first lap is going to be really slow. They're dusting off the cobwebs. The next lap, they're going to make a huge improvement because there is a lot of time to find. Now they're really close to their peak. It's going to be harder and harder to find that improvement. So obviously for Sintler, he's in a very strong position there in provisional pole.
Yeah, strong position initially, but of course, we see James Pepper get closer now with a 1 minute 37.779. Sintler's position, arguably, I mean, if it was slightly earlier in the session, would have been worse because whilst he's still on provisional pole, he might have gone, right, there's no more to come out of that. I'm 3/10 clear, whatever. Goes into the pit lane and decides to call it a day for his qualifying session. But then James Pepper responds and puts himself 600ths away. You think, maybe there is more to come, and James might be that one to find it and get himself not only even further onto the front row, but maybe onto pole position. Carl Felvis, he will now be looking for that improvement. There is Harry Dios, still not a lap time set. He has to make this lap count. If he gets a fairly competitive lap time, if he's in the 38s, we know he can do it. He's been very quick throughout the season and has been struck with a bit of bad luck. I alluded to it last week. If he didn't have bad luck, he would have no luck at all. But Harry has been dealing with that quite well. Last time out, he finished, P5, I think, maybe P6. So he's been getting there. He's been getting some good points on the board, and he's consistently scoring those points. But it's just every little, even if it's a small mistake, costs Harry so dear. And something like that, I'm sorry, Harry, but just half a wheel on the grass, that's cost him so dear and cost him his qualifying session.
Yeah, and that's the problem with leaving it so late as well, is you put so much more pressure onto the next lap. You've got a decent chunk of time in qualifying. Bed yourself in slowly. Not each and every single lap needs to be the lap. You can start off just putting in a lap. Just bed yourself in. Even if it's 3 seconds off pole, whatever it is, even if it's 2 seconds off your PB, it's a lap that you can then fall back on. And unfortunately, the best he's been able to do is good enough for P15 overall. Of course, admittedly, it's a mistake that we've all done going into that corner. Let's not beat around the bush. I mean, we've all made the mistake here at Brands Hatch. It's easily done, but it could have been helped by a slightly slower lap earlier on in the session.
Yeah, I mean, it is a mistake we've all done. Usually I've lost it before we even got there. It's normally through the blind right-hander. I'm all over the grass and in the gravel and disappeared into a different postcode. But one thing to note, while we still might see some late improvements, James Pepper has taken the checkered flag, so too has Carl Felvis, Nathan Williams too. Nathan Williams the key one out of those four. Luke Sintler, being on pole position, he gains the extra points, and what that does do is promote him to third in the championship as of this qualifying session. It can all change during the race. Olivia Kronoska with a good improvement, posting a 1 minute, sort of mid 1 minute 40, 1 minute 40.793. So she, I was going to say, remains P11, but has dropped down to P12, as I think we've seen an improvement elsewhere. Jordan Taylor with a 1 minute 38.714. But Luke Sintler, that all-important pole point, has just put him up to third in the championship coming into race one. Race one is where the big points are, so we can't call it yet Nathan Bell pushing hard. Spirited entry to the pit lane.
Yeah, well, looks cool. Let's put it that way, I suppose. Of course, Peter Cornelius now one of the last drivers to put a lap time in. But that's how close this championship is. I mean, Carl Felvis, let's just ignore him for just a moment. Second downwards, that's how close the championship is. Of course, people say, you know, it's such a trivial thing, a point for pole. Is it really going to mean much at the end of the championship? That is prime example of how. I mean, Luke Sintler has put him one step closer to securing P2 and then also pushed himself into the top three, the all-important top three, of course, for championship prize money at the end of the season, which is very, very strong. So competitive, and it just goes to show that 1 point, it's worth getting if you can get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the key thing as well with the drop rounds that we've done, it's not a drop round, it's a drop race, and you get 2 of those. So even if you have a really good race 2 and score a big haul of points and you don't finish race 1, you don't necessarily have to drop that entire round, you just drop that first race. But somebody that's used that, maybe not to the best of his ability, but is dealing with this anyway. Luke Sintler, you join us in the commentary box. You're dropping 45 points coming into this evening. Your championship rival, Nathan Williams, on exactly the same points. He's dropping 0, and of course you can't drop any points this evening, so you're going to have to sit and deal with those 45 points lost. Not only are you in with a shout of third because you have just promoted yourself there with pole position and, of course, that bonus point, you've just got a step closer to P2 in the championship. Does that mean pressure's on you, or are you just trying to divert it onto somebody else?
Pressure's definitely on, yeah. I wasn't really aware that I had 45 drop points going into this round, so yeah, the pressure's definitely on for me to do well here.
Well, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I guess there are positives from that, because no matter what anybody else does this evening, if they have a slightly poor round, they have to deal with that. You cannot drop any more points, even if you score 0 for the rest of the evening. But coming into this evening, Brands Hatch, the only circuit we can really relate it to is when we went to Alton Park last time out. There's lots of undulation change, some very fast flowing corners, but some slightly slower corners as well. Early on, when I first came in and checked on the timing, I said, God, Sintler's going well. And then as we looked, you were improving. At one point, you were 0.3 clear. James Pepper nearly pipped you at the end, being 600ths. He was only 600ths away. Surely it's going to be a busy job. Are you going to be driving on your mirrors initially, or are you just going to try and build a gap and then maybe worry about how close everybody is?
Yeah, I think building the gap is the hope. I'm going to have to try my hardest to get a good start and defend my position going into the second corner hairpin, and then after that it's going to be just driving a consistent race. I think I've got the potential to have a podium in this race, so yeah, I just want to keep it clean and consistent and see where I can finish.
100%. You can't throw anything out the window. Zach, anything to add whilst you're in the box and we've got a bit of time before race 1?
Well, I mean, are you going to send it?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Sweet. Well, there you go then. I'm done. Go for it, mate. Good luck.
Thank you.
Always great to have a chat with Luke Sintler. Pole position, you can't really complain about that. His first pole of the season for Luke, by the looks of that. He's not drawn up a win, 2 or 3 third places, so a good haul of points. And like we say, his first pole position of the season, and what a time to do it. The final round, when the points really do count. Talking of points, everything gets wiped clean at the end of this season, and we start a new one all over again. We go racing here once again at PASR, this time for the Clio World Series. We kick it off in a similar fashion at Donington Park, this time the GP layout on the 11th of April. Then we head to Italy for a double header, the 18th of April and the 9th of May for Imola and Misano respectively. Then we're back in the UK to Alton Park, the international layout, so full with the Shell Oils hairpin on the 16th of May. Then we head over the pond right the way over to California to Laguna Seca on the 23rd of May, and then we're back in Europe to Belgium for the 30th of May. The final round held at Zolder, exactly the same layout of this evening, so a 15-minute qualifying session and then 2 20-minute races. How those races are formed, very, very slightly different. So the first race, naturally, the grid is set by qualifying, and race 2, it isn't a full reverse grid, it's just that top 10. Total prize fund, £300, and again, we're running a similar sort of prize layout. So if you do finish on the podium, you do get £5 in cash. Again, 2 race drop score system, which really does work. A semi-fixed setup which has been so crucial to the MX-5s, because you can play around very lightly with the setup of the car. So mainly with pressures and a bit of fuel, and there might be a couple of bits you can tweak with the suspension. So not too much in terms of overall pace. It might just work with drivability, but drivability can win you races. We already know that. Custom liveries to make the grid look fabulous, as it always does, for perfect acceleration sim racing. And same with the bonus points, 1 for pole, 1 for fastest lap, and a protest and penalty system, which hopefully we don't have to use. And Zach, I know you're a fan of what's coming up. Why don't you let the ladies and gentlemen at home know a fun little event we've got coming up?
Oh yeah, well in a week's time, boom, there you go, 4 transits around around Donington Park. Now that is going to be a lot of fun. To the best of my knowledge, it's just turn up as you like. You can see 20-minute races, and yeah, well, two races, of course, 15-minute quali, and some 4 transits. Can't lie, never driven them. Don't exactly know how much raceability they've got, but I know you could definitely enjoy driving them.
Oh, I thoroughly enjoy these transits. They're a very niche driving style, but they do work if you get them right. So I'm looking forward to getting behind the wheel for once at PASR. The grid is formed. The race is getting underway very shortly. Luke Sintler on pole position, James Pepper alongside. Then it's Kyle Felvers and Nathan Williams on row 2. Leo Bell and Jordan Taylor make up row 3. Row 4 is Ash Hill and Nathan Snaith. Sam Chilton has Kieran Roberts for company on row number 5. Starting in 11th is Thomas Potter. Then it's Olivia Kronoska, followed then by Peter Cornelius. Nathan Bell and Harry Dios, unfortunately, with that poor qualifying lap right at the end, didn't thrust him up the order, but keep an eye on him carving his way through from the very back row of the grid. We've got the lights getting ready on screen. So 3, 4, 5, 6 lights here at Brands Hatch for the first race of the final round. And who gets the best start as they go out? It was a good start from Luke Sidler. Initially got the jump. James Pepper tries to match him. Kyle Felvers got a bit of wheel spin, and that just dropped him back into the clutches of Leo Bell. Jordan Taylor is trying to make it, 4 wide. James Pepper's on the very outside. He's got Nathan Williams up the inside already. Luke Sidler trying to build that margin with Kyle Felvers on the outside of Leo Bell. So Leo Bell on the inside heading in towards Druids. Kyle Velvers so late on the brakes all the way around the outside. James Pepper tries to follow him. That will change to the inside down in towards Graham Hill Bend. Leo Bell could go from 2nd right the way down to 4th at the moment. It's all gone wrong at the back. That's Thomas Potter and Nathan Bell, unfortunately. Spinning through 360 degrees is Leo Bell. Nathan Williams involved in that one as well. He's got a championship to think about. So too does Leo. So Leo drops down the order right the way down into 11th. Harry Dios on a mission right the way up the inside. So leading by almost a second already is Luke Sintler, but in hot pursuit is James Pepper. Kyle Felvers sat in P3 right underneath the rear of James Pepper's car. Jordan Taylor again just letting us know that the main beam works on his car, so he's hunting down the rest of the top 3, but he's got Nathan Williams, Ash Hill, Sam Chilton, Kieran Roberts, Nathan Snaith, Olivia Kronoska all stacked up behind him. So from 4th right the way down to what is 10th, they're all in with a shout of all of those positions up the road. Jordan Taylor, maybe a small mistake, or Nathan Williams, pardon me, maybe a small mistake as Jordan Taylor gets through. First lap, for the moment, it seems have gone quite well. Never mind. So Nathan Williams, maybe slightly over-eager on the throttle, not willing to lift out, and that's spun Jordan Taylor into the wall, and he's trying to rejoin as safely as possible. Nathan Williams nips up the inside, so too does Thomas Potter. Back to the front. Look how close that lead gap is now. Luke Sintler, he's lost loads of time.
Yeah, spoke a little bit too soon, but a lead fight nonetheless, also take priority for just the moment. Sintler doing a good job as to maintain that pole position for the time being. Pepper, though, applying the pressure. Felvis there, of course, with the championship on the line. He's completed a lap, so to the best of my knowledge, that means he is confirmed as the championship. Pepper going up into, of course, Druids, not quite able to find the inside line. Sintler, though, doing his best job is to secure that first win of the season.
Yeah, we've had a mistake for Kieran Roberts as he's dropping down the order. Nathan Snaith loses out to Olivia Kronoska, who's up to 7th. What a way to bounce back after a week off. Olivia Kronoska right the way up into 7th place. James Pepper, does he necessarily prefer putting the pressure on or having to be the one to deal with it? We've seen him in both situations, and he deals with them both very, very well. Luke Sintler, he just washed slightly wide of the apex there as he heads towards Pilgrim's Drop, so that's a position loss. Leo Bell's trying to carve his way back up through the order after the incidents earlier on with Nathan Williams. James Pepper getting closer and closer and closer. Is he going to have a look to the inside at Hawthorne? Surely not. It's such a quick corner. Just dips the nose up the inside. That gets in Luke Sintler's head. It forces the mistake. Luke Sintler onto the gravel and onto the grass. Rejoins behind Kyle Felvers. So James Pepper to the lead. Kyle Felvers up to 2nd. Luke Sintler down to 3rd, maybe 4th as Nathan Williams approaches at a rapid rate of knots. Ash Hill, we said keep an eye on him. He's up to 5th place. Sam Chilton, the man that really deserves a bit more out of this championship, he's up to 6th. A little bit of away from the rest of the top 5, but he is in those point scoring places. Nathan Williams, he saw what was happening. Ash Hill promotes himself up into 3rd. What a move. But Luke Sintler got slightly turned there by Nathan Williams, but hats off to Nathan. He did give him the opportunity to rejoin by jumping on the brakes, but immediately bites back and jumps into 4th.
Yeah, Luke Sintler really having a poor second half to that lap, not liking things at all. Pepper leads from Felvis and Hill, who was immediately on to capitalise. Here's Snaith versus Chilton as they emerge themselves onto the pitch straight towards Paddock Hill Bend. Of course, on the left, that's going to be Snaith trying to go the long way around. It's doable, definitely tricky, easy to get a snap of oversteer as well. Going to send the move in, huge bit of contact. They both go sideways. Of course, Snaith the worst off. There's more contact as Chilton rejoins contact with a couple of people. I think that's Dios in the gravel trap trying to rejoin. It's absolute havoc here at Paddock Hill Bend, and I think caused by an overly committed outside line there from Snaith.
Yeah, Nathan, he looked for the move, and I think he tried to go for the apex, hoping that by pinching that line, it would close off any advances from anybody else, but the car was still there, and you can't really get away with that one. So Thomas Potter, unfortunately involved, and what did I say about Harry Dios's luck? Unfortunately, down to 14th place, and pretty much back to where he started. Jordan Taylor now trying to work his way through and past Kieran Roberts, which I think he has done. Back up to Nathan Williams, who's been a talking point throughout this race, let's put it that way, and he's now in 5th place, trying to attack on Luke Sintler. Kieran Roberts already trying to attack back on Jordan Taylor. Jordan might have dived to the inside on the run up towards Surtees, but that means you wash wide, and a small mistake from Kieran Roberts spins through 360 degrees into the gravel, just breaking on the grass, and that brings an end to that little battle there. But Nathan Williams still hot on the heels of the championship hopeful. These two championship rivals, there's only a point separating them. And Nathan, P5, he's going to want to just take away as many points as possible from Luke Sintler to keep his championship hopes alive and keep him inside that top 3, and of course in those prize-paying positions. As far as Jordan Pepper's concerned, he's doing everything he needs to. 1.3 seconds clear, a fastest lap of the race jogged up on the boards, a 1:37.442. Kyle Felvis as well, doing everything he needs to do, running around in 2nd place, continuing to lap quicker and quicker and quicker. Those top 2, they're having pretty much their dream evening. Luke Sintler and Nathan Williams, they're going to be fighting tooth and nail right to the very end of not only race 1, but race 2. Further down the order, Thomas Potter, he's trying to fight back on Kieran Roberts, squeezed for room onto the grass, a little bit of door-to-door contact, but as they cross the line absolutely together, it's brilliant racing in the mid-pack as well.
Yeah, brilliant racing up and down the order. Kieran Roberts, of course, not having the best of previous laps, but trying to get the up and under, definitely doable. And a nice little look already alongside. Uphill braking, of course, so assisted by gravity, allows you to be even later going into Druids. Kieran Roberts moves his way up into 12th place quite nicely. Still 14 minutes on the clock. Plenty of racing here for race 1 at Brands Hatch. And absolute carnage amongst the top 3. Very well done for Pepper, of course, to capitalise on the mistakes. Felvis is just there by himself, chilling. Again, just running as long as things stay clean. He is going to be the champion. Ash Hill, as I say, very good job as to capitalise on all the mistakes that happened in front of them, albeit now under pressure once again from the pole sitter of Sintler, who's looking to fight his way back forward at the very least to limit the damage to James Pepper in that fight for 2nd in the championship. But I suppose most importantly, he needs to finish ahead of Williams for that all-important 3rd place, because even if it's not 2nd, P3 is where you start winning the prize money, and then also an extra $5 if he's able to get ahead of Hill for 3rd. But you and I both know, Jack, is that if there's anything about Ash Hill, it's that he doesn't like to give up places easily.
No, he knows how to defend, and defend well, does Ash Hill. So Luke Sintler at the moment, his main priority is not only getting into those top 3 and getting past Ash Hill, it will be getting Ash Hill between himself and Nathan Williams, because if you can put a car between yourself and your rival, which is what he's trying to do all the way around the outside at Paddock Hill Bend, they're drawn level at the exit, a bit of contact between the pair of them. Nathan Williams, ever the optimist, a big lunge up the inside, the car squirms left and right under heavy braking. Luke Sintler doing everything he can just to hold that outside line. He's going to look to the inside, down in towards Graham Hill Brand later on the brakes, grabs the apex, parks it on the apex. Brilliant move from Luke Sintler. What that has now done is bottlenecked those 2 cars behind. Ash Hill is recovering from poor momentum on the exit. Nathan Williams has had to brake in response. Nathan immediately looking to the inside on the run through Surtees. Almost contact between the pair of them. They go slightly deep, running wide as they go up the hill and then towards Pilgrim's Drop. Luke Sintler, he's played that absolutely perfectly. He's got into 3rd, put a car between himself and Nathan Williams, compromised that car very slightly, and then he's starting to run away. He's over half a second clear of Ash Hill behind now. Ash Hill will try and defend from Nathan Williams because he has every single right to, because they are fighting for overall positions. But Luke Sintler, what a way to not only execute the overtake, but execute everything else thereafter. He's running away. Nathan Williams, he wants to get by.
He does, and he wants to get by sooner rather than later. Still got over half the race left to go, though, so still plenty of opportunity going into Sterling's. Looking for the inside, does not phase Ash Hill one bit. For those unfamiliar, of course, the gap between each point to pen position is just one, so effectively each position is a point gained in the overall thing, starting from 30 for the win. So as things stand, Sintler is gaining 2 points on Williams, and he wants to build as big of a margin as to not be re-overtaken by Williams. So even if Williams does get past Ash Hill here as they go side by side towards Paddock Hill, Sintler's going to be hopefully far enough ahead that he's going to be uncontested. Ash Hill defending, but you can see there the black and white MX-5 of Williams trying to go the long way round. Bit of a twitch, and nicely done. Williams soars himself into fourth.
Yeah, the outside line definitely seems to be the preferred line heading through Graham Hill Bend. A bit of contact between the pair of them. Ash Hill bleeds off the brake slightly earlier than Nathan Williams. That just runs him into the tail end. So whilst Nathan has now got in front of Ash Hill, he's being compromised very slightly, and he might have to not worry about attacking Luke Sintler for another couple of laps. He might have to worry about defending from Ash Hill, because he has every right to try and get those points back. The standings are updating live on the right-hand side of your screen, so if you are watching along and keeping track of the championship, it's made even easier by Tom and his wizardry somehow managing to look at about 80 million screens and keep us all looking at the same thing at the right time whilst updating the standings. So James Pepper up at the front. He is outscoring Kyle Felvis only by a point, and that draws him a point closer to Kyle in the championship. Luke Sintler, he is on 246, so 2 points clear of Nathan Williams and 4 points away from James Pepper. So looking forward from Ash Hill, he is really the man we need to keep an eye on at the moment, because he can massively change the way the championship looks come the end of this evening. Currently sat in P5. He's fallen away a little bit from Nathan Williams. Leo Bell, he is running around in the background, very wide on the exit of Sterling's. There is Nathan, so that will be another sort of track limits warning picked up for him, something we maybe need to worry about as well, because post-race penalties can still be applied, and that can still change the look of the championship. We will call it as we see it. Olivia Kronoska, I was about to mention, has worked her way up into P7, but unfortunately a bit of rally crossing. However, I fear that was aided by Jordan Taylor. Looking at Jordan Taylor's car, he jumped on the brakes, and I think he maybe helped Olivia find the gravel trap there.
Yeah, nice sportsmanship shown, of course, to accept that you're wrong and immediately give yourself a penalty. So Kronoska through and up into 7th place, or well, regaining 7th place. And yeah, good to see the sportsmanship, because yeah, things do go wrong out on circuit. It's obviously how you correct yourself from there. Into the second half of this race though, but not to fear, we do have another 20-minute of a complete reverse grid, and that's going to really spice things up, particularly in that fight for the championship. Kronoska going into, of course, Druids, and under a little bit of pressure from Taylor, who is now going to be joined potentially there by Cornelius, not a million miles away, going into Graham Hill Bend here at turn number 3. So Kronoska under a lot of pressure, and the up and under there going in towards 30s. Jordan Taylor might be eyeing it up. I think things better of it though.
Yeah, he had a little look. I was about to say, Olivia Kronoska so good on the defending side of things. What has happened to Nathan Williams? A missed gear, maybe a bit of damage, I don't know. Going very slowly indeed. The car is being pulled off the racing line. Is it tracking straight? That may have been quite a large accident for Nathan Williams, I think. That or something has gone all kinds of wrong. Has he left it on quali fuel? That could be a worry as well, because he's gone very, very slowly. Is he back up to racing speed through there? The car... Maybe. It's quite a weird one from Nathan. Whether it was a mistake at the start of the straight and he was just down on the momentum as we went through Pilgrim's Drop, but he's lost a place now. So Leo Bell up into P5, Nathan Williams down to P6. That's affecting his championship. He's no longer 2 points back. He's now 4 points back. Jordan Taylor currently sat in P8, still trying to get by Olivia Kronoska. I was about to say, before we jumped back to that other battle, Olivia Kronoska, unfortunately, as we look, making not necessarily the same mistake as the lap before, but making the mistake unaided. I was going to say, she's so good at defending, but not being aggressive in doing so, just placing the car very calmly where it needs to be, just to hamper the other driver in such a way they can't work their way through and past. Harry Dios now up into P11, and still trying to carve his way through the order, but unfortunately that mistake earlier on, I fear, may have set him a little bit further back than he wanted. Thomas Potter closing up onto the tail of Olivia Kronoska. He looks to the outside. Is he going to have a look to the inside? No, not this time. But you can see the car squirming around on the brakes. They're braking so hard, using every ounce of braking performance they have. Jordan Taylor dropping down the order and off the road, maybe slightly deep in towards turn 1. He pulls the car over to the left-hand side, so no further battles for him over at least the next couple of laps. But in terms of the fastest lap of the race, who's getting the point for that at the moment? The man who's currently leading the race, James Pepper, 1 minute 37.878. So a good lap from him, and he's only gone quicker in sector 1 this time through. Thomas Potter edging his way up the inside of Olivia Kronoska, position made, points gained. We can't just keep an eye on the top 5 because every position that changes could potentially change a championship with how close it is going into the final round.
Exactly that, and that's exactly the way we want it to be seen. Of course, assisted by the fact there are no drop weeks to be taken at the final round, so everyone's on that clean slate, and it's basically just call it as you see it, obviously with post-race infringements and things like that to carry it on, but you don't have to do the awkward maths of, yeah, but they might be taking their drop score and then factor that in. It's just fair game. It's a race to the flag. You score the points that you get from today, and that's the effect on the championship, which I always think is the best way to run it. Have the drop weeks for the first 5 rounds, leave the last round as that sprint, as that finale, as that Grand Slam finish that we all come to know and love, particularly when the championships are so close, and particularly when there is prize money to be had. Kieran Roberts versus Cornelius going into the final corner. Of course, they're battling over 8th place, just ahead, of course, of Thomas Potter there in P11. Just 6 minutes left on the clock, probably only going to translate itself into about 4 or 5 more laps, depends, of course, as to when Pepper crosses the finish line, probably closer to 4, but looking very, very strong. 3.7 seconds clear of the pack, I believe. The vast majority of the fight for the top 4 is over. However, Nathan Williams, having a couple of issues this race, would like to find himself back into the top 5 and at the very least score himself back a point relative to his rivals.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about those crucial points that you can maybe get in the first race, so you don't have as much pressure to keep those in race 2. Race 2 is really going to be the deciding point of how the championship will look. Riding on board with Harry Dios up the inside of Peter Cornelius in towards Surtees. A bit of a wobble and heavy contact with Peter's car. That forces them both wide. Thomas Potter, he's got past one and he's got past the other. Thomas Potter into the top 10, up into 9th place. Harry Dios, a small mistake, that's all it was, but it cost him so dear. He's lost a place and slightly damaged Peter's car, so I think he may be nursing that car home for the final 5 minutes. But in terms of the championship, it is ever-changing. Peter again, he was sort of half on the inside, half on the outside. Olivia Kronoska tried to work her way through and past. Now we've got Jordan Taylor working his way past Peter Cornelius, and his next target will be Olivia Kronoska. And of course, these cars, the nature is just they race so closely, so any small mistake will cost you dear regardless. They've only got 160 brake horsepower, which does sound like a lot, especially out of a car that weighs less than a ton. But of course, everybody is using the same machinery with only very few bits that you can tinker around with. Thomas Potter through 180 degrees coming out of Stirlings, and he finds himself dropping down heaps of positions from 9th right the way down to 13th.
Yeah, I mean, silver lining is that he's going to start on the second row for race 2, I suppose. Maybe there's some positives to take in that regard, but another mistake we have all done on the exit of Stirlings. Way too much speed in. I mean, it's deceptive. I mean, you're carrying so much speed through Dingledale into Sheen, and then, of course, the camber. We'll get back to that in a second because there's contact. Harry Dios looking to the inside of Paddock Hill Bend. Nicely held from the pair of them. I think that's Kronoska he was battling with. Jordan Taylor now back into the top 10. A look there potentially from Cornelius on the inside of Druids. Of course, not quite able to convert there. Taylor back into the top 10. Of course, Olivia able to consolidate that P9. But once again, into Paddock Hill Bend seems to be the biggest, I suppose, caution point of the circuit. The place that you don't necessarily really want to go side by side is here comes to Cornelius to the inside. Surtees looking to get that top 10 back.
Yeah, big move up the inside from Peter Cornelius, but unfortunately he washes slightly wide so late on the brakes. That allows Jordan Taylor to get back through. So Jordan back into the top 10 and already starting to work away. Back up to Nathan Williams. We saw him just go slightly off pace. We're assuming a small mistake. He lost out to Leo Bell and they dropped him out of the top 5. Now, with 3.5 minutes remaining, he's decided now's the best time to respond. So with 3 laps of the race remaining, he's looking to the inside as we go over the start-finish line. We know the inside can be good for turn 1, but we know the outside is usually the preferred, because you can carry that momentum all the way around the outside if you're later on the brakes. Leo Bell tries to showcase that perfectly. And Leo, please prove me right, because he's almost in front. But then we arrive at Druids. The inside remains with Nathan Williams. Leo slightly earlier on the brakes. He's going to look for the cutback, but that will evolve to the outside by the time we get down towards Graham Hill Bend. Nathan Williams back into the top 5 and a point closer to Luke Sintler. But of course, Luke Sintler is currently up in P3, scoring a couple more points still. Ash Hill, I've got to say, what a brilliant performance it has been from him so far. Remaining in P4, he joined us, like I say, mid-season at Castle Combe. And he was new to PASR. He wasn't just new to the series, he was new to Perfect XL acceleration sim racing, so a brilliant drive from him so far. Who else has joined us throughout the season? Sam Chilton, he's currently sat down in 14th place. He is on a perfect acceleration sim racing rig, so it's great to see him in a PASR series with a PASR rig. Of course, in terms of the drivers returning, a lot of the drivers have already raced with us. James Pepper, the Ginetta Junior Official E Series, that's where he's come from. Nathan Bell, the father of Leo Bell. Leo currently sat up in P6. Nathan has currently had a plagued race with some small mistakes. He's down in P15, but continuing to lap consistently and improve upon his lap times. So it's great to see some improvement even this late on in the day. James Pepper at the front, 2.5 seconds clear now of Kyle Felbers. Then we get back to Luke Sinter and Ash Hill. And Nathan Williams, he's still trying to get through and past Leo Bell, which of course, we've seen him do. But now he's got 1.5 seconds between himself and Ash Hill to try and navigate over the next, 2 laps. That's a lot of time with very little time all at the same time.
A lot of times, yeah. And he's not going to have many times to go. I don't know. There's some way to get it back in there. There's not enough time for me to figure that one out. Flash the headlights, of course, illuminating the rear end of Snaith. But yeah, penultimate lap of the race as things stand. 1 minute 17 on the clock, and that's the good thing, obviously, for Hill. As to be fair, that gap now under a second. Is that he was able, while Williams was battling with Bell, to build that gap, build that margin, so much so that he's under a little bit less pressure come the end of the race. However, Williams, a driver motivated by a little bit of extra prize money at the end of the championship, is going to be gunning for that P4. The only problem is that by the time he catches up, he's only going to have 1 lap to do it. And when you get to that point, each corner that goes past is an opportunity less that you're going to get to make that move.
Absolutely. I've just noticed as well, Taylor has had another little off. Thank you to Tom for just pointing that out to us. But of course, whilst he's had that small mistake, that has dropped him right the way down to 14th place, which more or less revolves to the front row of the grid for race number 2 when we get the full reverse. So some drivers, naturally, they want to go for the points in race 1. Who wouldn't? But of course, you're putting yourself on the back foot for race 2, and you've got all that work to do and more in race 2, carving your way through the order. Leo Bell in the background, still looking very racy. So Nathan, he will have to stay honest here. Any small mistake as he's trying to work his way through and past Ash Hill could cost him a position. Instead of gaining one, he could quite easily lose one. On the brakes in towards the final corner for the penultimate time. And then over towards the line to tick what is lap number 12 in the book, going on to the 13th and final lap. The clock hits 0. Of course, James Pepper already working his way through Druids, so he's got maybe a bit of traffic as well, because Nathan Bell just slightly further up the road with another small mistake. He might have to deal with that. Nathan Snaith, the pressure is really on now. Kieran Roberts looking all the way to the outside. A bit of rallycross position made somehow with half the car on the grass. Ash Hill briefly, I think, dropped behind Nathan Williams. They switch back almost immediately, down in towards Graham Hill Bend. Nathan Williams looks to the inside, kind of, but decides maybe now isn't the best time to go for the move. Of course, he can sit behind him on the Cooper straight, force Ash Hill to go defensive, look for the better exit out of Surtees, and then run away with P4 coming out of Surtees going down the Pilgrim's Drop. Is it going to work like that? Absolutely not. It will never be that easy. Ash Hill is on the final lap of the first race. He's looking for 4th place. He's looking for his best finish of the season. And at the moment, he's got Nathan Williams challenging him on the left-hand side. So as we go back up the hill, up towards Hawthorns, a very quick section of the circuit, you've got to be so brave to go around the outside. Nathan Williams pinches Ash Hill in towards the apex, and neither of them really gain too much out of that. Now in towards the very, very quick right-hander in towards Westfield. Nathan Williams comes out slightly worse of that. A flash of the lights as a last-ditch attempt to try and force a mistake, but I think free and clear now is Ash Hill. James Pepper, he'll be coming towards the line.
Yeah, there he is. And what a race it has been for him. I mean, well, dominant since the first couple of laps.
Yeah, brilliant work from James Pepper. So he comes across the line and wins race 1 here at Brands Hatch. But I think the man that has stolen the show, not only this evening, but all season, is Kyle Felvis. Provisionally, as the points stand, Kyle Felvis is your champion. Of course, there could still be post-race penalties and various other bits to be applied. Luke Sintler, he will come towards the line and finish P3. Then it's Ash Hill, P4, Nathan Williams, P5. Leo Bell has crossed the line in P6. And Kieran Roberts, with his newly inherited 7th place, he should cross the line in 7th. Nathan Snaith, he gave it everything towards the end, but couldn't quite hold on, and he will have to cross the line in 8th. Harry Dios, again, what could have been, showcased some brilliant pace, didn't have the best qualifying, carved his way up through the order, and you've got to think from the back row of the grid, even with the incident he had, to finish P9, it's definitely something to be proud of.
Oh, it is. I mean, to be fair, in what is a fairly stacked grid, didn't have the cleanest race as well. Did have a big old moment through Paddock Hill to finish inside the top 10. Very, very respectable stuff. And yeah, all to gain really in race 2. He's going to be further up the field. Of course, still a good bit of ground to make up. But all is possible going into, well, the final race of the season. 20 minutes on the clock, and well, that'll be it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Zach. So we've got the final few cars coming towards the line. So Sam Chilton, he's just edging his way through the final corner now. In hot pursuit is Jordan Taylor, but of course Jordan has put himself in a rather good position for the start of race 2. He will be on the front row of the reverse grid, finishing in 14th place. So Sam Chilton over the line in 14th, Jordan Taylor in 15th, and then we await the arrival of Nathan Bell, who again showcased some good pace, but a few small mistakes just cost him so dear, and he will cross the line 15th and our final finisher. But we do have our top 2 at the moment. Hopefully our top 3 will join us in the commentary box in a few moments' time. James Pepper, what a way to really kick off the final round of the season. You got to the front nice and early and built that gap. There was a little bit of defending sort of involved, but as soon as you got away, that was it really. You just controlled that gap and crossed the line P1.
Yeah, it was a great race. Lonely one towards the end. Managed to hold pace from Kyle, and I think the fastest lap as well. So really enjoyable that.
Yeah, so max points out of race 1 with, like you say, the race win and the fastest lap, which you did just about get. Everybody else was almost within a 10th, Kyle and Luke, but they couldn't quite get you towards the end. But of course, race 2, completely different complexion to race 1. You've got to start at the very back on your own grid because we've got an odd number of starters, so you've got to be on your own little row, pardon me, at the very tail end of the order. That must be quite tricky as we very briefly lose James there, so hopefully you heard enough of the question. We'll very briefly just nip over to Kyle. Kyle, what have I got to do for you not to follow me into the commentary box every single round? We say it every round, and you always find your way in here. But looking at that, provisionally, I believe you're champion.
Yeah, really good race, really enjoyable. Didn't do much practice tonight. I think, like last week, I've been addicted to iRacing's new update, so haven't been doing much practice. But you know, I did some laps this evening and a bit yesterday, and found the pace. And I knew that I didn't need to do much, but just needed to finish consistently, and that's hopefully the goal.
Yeah, and of course you've still got one more race to go, but if anything that's more of a consolation, just maybe scoring a few more points and seeing what you can do. I know what you're like, you will just want to carve your way through the order, which we've seen you do a multitude of times throughout this season and do it very successfully indeed. But Brands Hatch, of course, you've got plenty of experience here with other championships, and again here tonight, it just seemed like you controlled the pace well and managed the gaps. Is it going to be a similar sort of story heading into race 2?
Yeah, hopefully. I think, you know, same as every week. Like I say, just go into it like it's round 1 of the season and just try and get the best result I can. Brands Hatch GP, brilliant circuit, probably one of my favourites in the UK. So flowy, and this car feels great around it. So.
Great stuff. Well, again, another congratulations from me with the provisional championship. Hopefully you can cement that a little bit more in race 2. And if we don't get the opportunity to thank you at the end of race 2, it's been a pleasure to watch throughout the season. And yeah, once again, congratulations.
Cheers, Jack.
And James, back with us now. Race 2, what's that plan? Because race 1, like you say, it was a bit hectic towards the start, but got quite lonely towards the end. We know race 2, you never really get lonely because there's always somebody out there that's willing to fight, and whether that be someone that you usually fight with or somebody that you maybe pick up on the way through. Is it just going to be, again, pick them off nice and early and then run away from there, or is it just going to be see how the race plays out and react to whatever happens?
Yeah, as the plan was for Ulton, I've just got to sort of keep as close to the likes of, in this case, Luke, Kyle, and I think it's Ash that was also quite quick in that race. So I've got to keep close to them and try to fight my way through, keeping it as clean as possible again.
Great stuff. Cheers, James. Congratulations on a race 1 win, and hopefully we can talk to you again at the end of race 2. Luke, not necessarily, I think, the race you were wanting, but I think more importantly, you finished in front of Nathan Williams by a couple of places, and what that has done is promote yourself and secure yourself more or less into P3 heading into race 2. Of course, it still can all change, but now again, it's a very different aspect you've got to try and attack, because whilst you start behind Nathan Williams now, you start ahead of your other championship rival, James Pepper. So you're the meat in the sandwich. If you go forward, they both have to do more work. If you go backwards, they're going to get a slightly easier job. And I know what you're like. You will try and carve your way forward as best as possible. But Brands Hatch is really clicking with you this evening. What can we expect from you in race 2?
Yeah. Race 1 was slightly disappointing. Still finished on the podium, but it's not quite what I was hoping for going into it. So race 2, I mean, I've got to get a good start and sort of be careful not to do any damage at the start or crash. And after that, it's just making up as many places as possible and carving my way through really, and see where I can finish.
And I mean, hopefully we can talk to you again at the end of race 2. But if we don't, sum up the season in a few sentences for me, at least from your perspective, and how you found it.
Yeah, for me it's been great, and it's it's been really close racing. The points have been close. I mean, I was drawing with Nathan going into this round. And I mean the pace has been really close as well. Like we've been within tenths or even within thousandths sometimes of each other all season. So yeah, it's been very exciting to race against all these other people and in a car that I really enjoy as well. So yeah.
Great stuff. Brilliant to hear, Luke. I'll let you go as race 2 is very shortly getting underway. As everybody's already on the grid, I'll very briefly run you through the order in which they line up. Nathan Bell lines up in pole position with Jordan Taylor alongside. Then it's Sam Chilton and Thomas Potter on row 2. Row 3 is Peter Cornelius and Olivia Kronowska. Harry Dios lines up with Nathan Snaith alongside. Then it is Kieran Roberts and Leo Bell, followed by Nathan Williams and Ash Hill. Keep an eye on Ash, see how he can convert a slightly further back row start, if you will, into race 2. And the final full row, we've got Luke Sintler and Kyle Fulvers, and all on his own is James Pepper. Up at the front, who gets the best start? Will it be Nathan Bell? Will it be Jordan Taylor? Can we expect a final good result from Jordan Taylor? Lights up the rear axle, does our pole sitter Nathan Bell. That allows Jordan Taylor to draw himself alongside. Coming over in response to the attack is Sam Chilton. He immediately tries to edge his way up through the inside. Sam Chilton, he's gone for the lead, has compromised on the exit is Jordan Taylor. Nathan Bell runs out wide. Nathan Snaith has spun through 90 degrees in the background and gets caught in the gravel trap, not the start he would have wanted. Leo Bell is that? No, that's Nathan Bell that is pointing towards the barrier now. I think he was the only calamity heading through Druids. Harry Dios off the road but rejoins as carefully as possible, makes contact there with Nathan Williams as he washes wide all the way up the grass and can't get the car pointed the right way. Everything swings the way of Luke Sintler all of a sudden because he's carving his way up through the order as best as possible. He's up into 11th. However, James Pepper has already worked his way in front. A bit more contact further back. Thomas Potter fired towards the wall and him towards the tyres, so he's down into 12th place. Sam Chilton leads from Jordan Taylor. Then it's Kieran Roberts, Olivia Kronowska, Peter Cornelius, Leo Bell, Harry Dios fighting away with Kyle Felvis. Kyle puts a wheel on the grass. He's still on the outside of Harry Dios as we approach Hawthorns. Absolutely nose to tail. A big lunge up the inside there from Luke Sintler. He's trying to carve his way up through the inside. Harry Dios loses the tail end of the car. It all gets collected up very quickly. And in all of that, Luke Sintler somehow managed to get in front of James Pepper, and Kyle Felvis still trying to work his way through and past Harry Dios, which he does now by the time we arrive heading through Piff Path. So Dingledale, pardon me. So now in towards Westfield or Stirling, it all starts to calm down. I'm getting all of my corner names mixed up, but that's because it's still going on. I really don't know where to look, Zach.
Yeah, no, respect to Tom O'Farrell, to be fair. As good of a driver he is, I think he might just be a slightly better producer because of keeping up with all of this action. There you can see Olivia fighting away with Carl Felvis, who's moved his way up nicely into 6th place. Flash the headlights though, maybe as a show of intent. Peter Cornelius side by side with Dios as Pepper and Hill. Sintler all battling over in his paddock. Hill, bit of contact just ahead. Skronowska finds her way a little bit wide, potentially under threat now, potentially 3 wide going into Druids. He's a fight for the lead though. Kieran Roberts on the inside of Jordan Taylor as he moves his way through. Kronowska going the long way around, nicely done. Harry Dios, of course, not so nicely done on the apex of Druids, and well, goodness me, it's all carnage and chaos. 3 wide towards turn 3.
Yeah, Harry Dios, one small mistake, 5 positions lost. The worst time you can make a mistake is at the very start of the race when everyone's all together. Peter Cornelius with a small mistake. He now gets picked off by Harry Dios. James Pepper elbowing his way through, desperate to try and run away. Luke Sintler gives a cold shoulder to Olivia Kronowska. She unfortunately finds the tyre wall on the exit of Surtees. So Ash Hill up 1, Harry Dios up 1, Peter Cornelius up 1. Leo Bell has managed to pick the pocket of Sam Chilton, and he is up onto the overall podium at the moment, up into P3. Kieran Roberts, he's very much under pressure from Jordan Taylor. Not the best race 1 from him. Race 2, he started on the front row of the grid. He's trying to convert that into the final race win of the season. Now, as we arrive up towards Dingledale, still following in the wheel tracks, is he going to have a little move as he dives to the inside at Sterling's. No, not this time. However, a flash of the headlights, a small mistake there from Kieran Roberts. Just dips a wheel onto the grass during the braking phase of the corner, and so desperate to come over. It didn't really need to happen. That puts them both off the road, and Kieran Roberts, again, with some very sort of robust defending. We've seen it from him throughout the season, but Kieran remains in the lead. Jordan Taylor in P2, but he will get the aerodynamic assistance towards turn number 1. Put it into perspective, Kyle Felvis, he finished second in race 1. He's already up to third place. This is what he does. This is why he is the provisional champion. However, he does have James Pepper hot on his heels. Jordan Taylor unable to make a move for the lead heading in towards turn 1, but James Pepper somehow managing to hold on to P4. It may turn into P3 here as he dives to the inside on the run up towards Druids. Jordan Taylor has still got it all going on, so James Pepper up into P3, a wobble on the apex, but does manage to secure that come the exit, or does he? Now down in towards Graham Hill Bend. Kyle Felvis immediately fighting back and back up into third place, still with James Pepper hot on his heels. A bit of oversteer compromises his exit. Leo Bell has got the best seats in the house. Don't rule out Sam Chilton. And Jordan Taylor still hasn't managed to get past Kieran Roberts. It's so close. The final race of the season is going to come down to these positions that change now.
Oh, a bit of door-to-door contact as well. Kieran Roberts definitely not giving an inch as they run their way towards Hawthorne. Jordan Taylor potentially looking to go to the outside, albeit going to be very difficult. Barely a car's width of space. It's side-by-side Felvis versus Pepper. That's the battle for P3. Felvis finds his way through, but the up and under potentially there as they run their way for Pepper. Inside line once more. The up and under again, though, from Felvis as he finds his way through. Now towards Dingledale. Taylor on the back foot. There goes Felvis through on the inside of Sheen Curve. I think Pepper's going to try and follow him through. Outside line, no way for him to consolidate that P2 for Taylor. So Felvis through into second. Now it's his turn to battle for Roberts as there's a huge send to the inside of Sterling's from Pepper.
Yeah, James Pepper so late on the brakes, threw it up the inside of Jordan Taylor. That washes him wide. That allows Leo Bell to work his way through and pass. So Leo Bell up into P4, Jordan Taylor down into P5. But Kyle Felvis, this is what he does. He arrives at the situation, he reads what's happening and immediately acts upon it. Unfortunately, I think that is Sam Chilton working his way through and past Luke Sintler. So too is Ash Hill. So Luke Sintler has gone from bad to worse. Now he's trapped behind these two. He's looking for a way through, but it's not going to work. Sam Chilton on the outside, Ash Hill on the inside. Ash Hill does make the inside work. We've now got Kyle Felvis and James Pepper all going for the lead. Kieran Roberts on the inside on the run up towards Druids Corner. That will evolve to the outside if they remain as they are, heading down in towards Graham Hill Bend. But immediately over to defend is Kieran Roberts, holding that inside, desperate just to hold on to the lead. And Kyle Felvis knocks him wide. That allows James Pepper to edge his way to the outside. The door closes and he finds the tyre wall. Leo Bell, somehow he arrived in 5th. He's in the lead.
Result for Leo Bell, absolutely amazing couple of corners. What does this mean for the championship as well? Because Sintler's there in 5th. Pepper was involved in that collision and is now stranded in 8th place, of course, still battling away with Kieran Roberts. But if Sintler can able to get himself involved in this battle, he could well be able to snag himself potentially up there in the championship. Felvis battling with him, that fight for the lead. The outside, though, held firm by Leo Bell. Now towards the next right-hander. Felvis having to back out of all of it. 13 minutes left on the clock, and it's not settled down one bit here at Brands Hatch.
No, and of course, Leo Bell came into this round on 208 points, only 9 points away from Luke Sintler. So with Leo Bell now up into P2, we will obviously wait for the points just to update us. They don't update exactly live. We've got Tom working away in the background trying to get them right for us. But Kyle Felvis currently back in the lead. Leo Bell P2. He was only 5th arriving this evening, but with some good points on the board, we could see him up to what, maybe 3rd potentially. Luke Sintler now, he only needed, what, 6 points to get in front of James Pepper. James Pepper, like you say, down in 9th place. Leo Bell fighting back for the lead. I'm sorry, Tom, you've got to somehow direct and keep up with the points on all of this. So Leo Bell in the lead. Kyle Felvis looks to the inside of the run up towards Druids. Jordan Taylor, he spent all of his race in every position but the lead at the moment. Back up the inside goes Kyle Felvis. A bit of contact between the pair of them. That forces Leo Bell wide. Jordan Taylor, I might say that a bit more often, back into the lead of the race, or finally into the lead of the race, I should say. Leo Bell up into P2. Kyle Felvis down to 3rd. Luke Sintler up into 4th, having picked the pocket of Ash Hill. So whilst all that has changed, Kyle Felvis more or less secure at the top of the championship, but Luke Sintler immediately capitalising on the incident involving James Pepper, and he works his way up into 4th in the championship. Out of all of that, Nathan Williams finds himself 3rd, and Luke Sintler, potentially, provisionally, up into 2nd place. But Nathan Williams, not really somebody we counted too much in that Pepper and Sintler fight. But of course, with Pepper dropping down the order, that's allowed Williams to capitalise. And it's still all change at the front because Leo Bell with a massive side swipe on Jordan Taylor. Jordan is defending for his life for this win. Kyle Felvis, don't rule him out.
No, absolutely not. Of course, the best way to round off the championship would be the win and, of course, the championship win for the final round of the seaseason. At the moment, he's there in P2, but firmly in the fight, and round goes Taylor, and he's collected Sintler, I think, momentarily. I think that might be Ash Hill, actually. Sintler rejoins the race in third, albeit a couple of seconds off the top two, but do not count these two out on catching back up, as I'm sure the top two will continue their battle, particularly as Felvis doesn't look like he's going anywhere in hammering for that race lead. Side by side towards the final corner, Sintler trying to consolidate third, Ash Hill on his inside, but now is the time, if they want to win this race, to work together. Still just over half this race left to go. It's still doable, 2.5 seconds, easily closed if they can just put their differences aside, put the ego and pride aside for just a moment. Leo Bell, Kyle Felvis, they'll be battling. They can get themselves back into contention.
Somebody working their way back into contention and getting closer and closer to Sam Chilton is James Pepper. Fastest lap of the race last time through, a 1 minute 37. It's not updated on my end, but I think it was a 1 minute 37.749, so well and truly the fastest lap of the race. With that comes a bonus point, and if you can catch Sam Chilton, comes a point back as well. He will get a point closer to Luke Sintler. So James Pepper, as best as bad things go, he is currently holding on by a thread ahead of Luke Sintler. 2 points clear, maybe 3, having just got up the inside of Sam Chilton. Yeah, so 3 points clear of Luke Sintler. Luke has arguably got to win this race if he wants to finish second place in the championship. So James Pepper up into 5th, 10.5 minutes of the race to go, so still over half of the race to go. 3.3 seconds to Ash Hill. That's definitely possible, especially with the rate that James Pepper is lapping. Yeah, last time through a 137.749. The only driver to break into the 37s in this race. I don't think anybody's got into the 38s at this point, just due to the nature of the battles that we're seeing. I think now Kyle Felvis has seen what's happening. He's being a bit more patient and is desperate not to lose any time behind Leo Bell. Maybe he's just trying to build that gap and then fight, still with 10 minutes to go. We've still got Luke Sintler and Ash Hill in the background, who are edging their way closer. We said, what, 2.5 seconds back? That's down to 1.5. And Luke Sintler, I said he's got to win the race. With a mistake like that, it's not going to happen, but you cannot rule him out still with this long left in the race. Now we might see a change for the lead. Kyle Felvis late on the brakes, dives his way up through the inside, but the momentum swings the way of Leo Bell all the way around the outside. So a good move from Leo Bell, holds the lead on the run up towards Druids. By the time we arrive, Kyle Felvis gets up the inside and gets the lead away. Leo Bell, he'll be looking to finish higher than he has so far this season. The highest he's finished is 3rd. 2nd would be nice, but he wants to hold that lead for the final, 9 minutes and 20 seconds left in this season.
Yeah, and he's doing a pretty good job of doing it, to be fair, considering Kyle Felvis has fairly dominated this championship as such. I mean, rounding off the championship going with still 1 race left to go, not bad going. Of course, for Leo Bell, if he's able to secure a win, he does not deserve it on any more day than this one. But there are still 9 minutes left to go and plenty of action that can still happen between now and the checkered flag. Also, don't count out Sintler and Hill potentially as well. James Pepper only half a second off that particular battle. So, of course, more points taken back off Sintler in his potential battle for second. There you can see the life points 3. So Sintler, as things stand, won't be taking the second place in the championship, to the best of my knowledge, but things can still change. Pepper can still make a mistake and lose points, albeit with Sintler unable to gain them. Bell able to consolidate P1 for now. Sintler back within 1.8. He just needs that consistent trajectory to see him closing back into the top 2. But once again, time is not on his side.
No, absolutely not. Ash Hill, maybe with a small mistake, because he's dropped away to the tune of 2 seconds almost from Luke Sintler. But what that has done is allow James Pepper to come back into the fold. He is, like you say, all over the tail of Ash Hill. And whilst he's in the top 5 at the moment and doing enough to hold on to P2 in the championship, we could see Kyle Felvis or somebody else, anybody else in the order, nick fastest lap and take that bonus point away. But James Pepper, he might just get another one in his pocket here up the inside on the run up towards Druids. Nice and easy by the time we get to the apex. Can he come over and defend in towards Graham Hill Bend? Yes, he can. So James Pepper up into P4, now 4 points clear of Luke Sintler. So Luke desperately needs to pick up not only P2 but P1 and the fastest lap of the race, or somebody to take it away from James Pepper, only to tie on points, and then it will all go to countback. And I think at the moment, looking at it, it will be James Pepper that would get that, because of course he has had the win out of the two of them. Luke Sintler has been fabulously consistent in the early part of the season, getting on the podium, but never managed to work his way onto the top step. Kyle Felvis, I don't know whether he's throwing everything at this, but he is just sat, I think, waiting in the wings for something to happen with Leo Bell, still with 7 minutes of the race remaining. Nathan Bell, I don't know whether that car's gone into retirement, but he was sat on the inside at Hawthorns. But now we see the change. Kyle Felvis into the lead of the race, ahead of Leo Bell. So Leo Bell down into P2, and Kyle Felvis scoring points that he doesn't necessarily need to utilise. But if anything, he's just doing what he needs to do to concrete that championship in place.
Yeah, exactly that. And to take the win out of the championship, it's the best way that you can do things for Felvis, particularly in a complete reverse grid race. Of course, getting P2 last race, that would have put him, of course, P14 for this one. And that's a lot of places to have gained in such a short span of time. There is Sintler, though, back into contention. So let's see what he's able to do. Of course, taking the pole for race 1. The expectation then is that you go and win. Of course, that didn't quite go to plan for him, and this is the way he wants to redeem himself. Get that first win of the season at the last opportunity to do so. Of course, he's going to have to work hard for it. It took Felvis a long time to get past Bell, and then it's Sintler's turn, all within the final 6 minutes of the season. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough indeed, but you can see the monumental gap he has closed down. If anything, those top 4 are just, normally you see them ebbing and flowing, but if anything, they're just drawing themselves closer and closer to each other. Kieran Roberts, he's gone from the lead of the race right the way down the order, and he's now just picking up whatever points he can get at the very final chance possible in this season, up into P11 through and past Peter Cornelius. Jordan Taylor helping himself to the rear bumper of Nathan Snaith on the exit of Graham Hill Bend. Up through Surtees they go. Jordan Taylor struggling to keep the rear end in check. I think just scrambling for points so late on in the day, and it's, I think, a matter of when and not if for Jordan Taylor. He's been getting quicker throughout the season. He's had some good points opportunities, but unfortunately, with I think a round off and then some slightly poorer races, it hasn't really worked for him. But if he can work his way through and past Nathan Snaith, that's another point in his pocket and another point that will go towards his championship total. Luke Sintler, he is in P3 and he is closing on P2, but that rearview mirror and James Pepper will be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. With his lights ablaze, making his intentions known, he will be desperate to get on that final podium of the season. Leo Bell will do everything he can to hold on to it. These 3, second, third and fourth, Bell, Sintler and Pepper, they're going to be fighting till the very end. Do not rule out Ash Hill, because if it all goes wrong, who's going to be there to pick up the pieces?
Him, more than anyone. Honestly, Ash Hill is a phenomenal driver, not in the sense that he sets the time and sheets ablaze or anything like that. He's never the quickest driver, but he's the most crafty. He's always somehow going to be able to fit his way through the cracks and, you know, bag a decent result at the end of things. Like we saw in race 1, where he was just able to soar his way into the podium positions, you know, at the time for the moment. Obviously didn't quite translate that to that in the end, but still managed to bag a decent result. He's just always there, consistent, ready to pounce on any mistakes the drivers in front of him make, while also very much limiting his own. There he is, just rounding out of Surtees, firmly in view of the fighting pack ahead, and 3 drivers fighting for second, 2 of which are neck and neck in the championship with 4 minutes to go in the championship. He knows full well this is going to get dicey. He knows full well P5, great result. Anything goes wrong, it's a bonus for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Nathan Bell, we thought he'd gone into retirement on the side of the circuit. He has managed to limp that car home and get to the pit lane, but I don't think we'll see any further action from him. Nathan Snaith, he's come under fire, not only from Jordan Taylor, not only from Harry Dios, but Kieran Roberts as well. 3 places lost, unfortunately, on this lap and drops out of the top 10 into 11th place. But looking on board with Luke Sintler, he's, well, there for the taking, because James Pepper is so close now. He's really closed that gap. We've still got, what, 3 laps of this race remaining. We'll be going on to 3 laps of this race remaining the next time we cross the line. But Luke Sintler, he has to get past Leo Bell as soon as possible to keep these championship hopes alive. He's on the grass. He's forcing the door open. It was left ajar, but Luke Sintler just swinging it open up the inside of Leo Bell, compromises Leo's turn in. Leo gets the best exit, of course, with the momentum all the way around the outside. But if Luke can hold the inside on the run up towards Druid's corner, he may just about nip his way in front. Runs slightly wide of the apex, that compromises the entry, but it does result in second place. Leo Bell down into third. James Pepper has watched that all happen and will want to sort of copy and paste and work his way up into third place now and get onto the final podium of the season. But Leo now, having lost another place, his podium's at risk, and he's going to fight back now. Late on the brakes on the run up towards Surtees. A bit of contact between the pair of them. Spun through 180 degrees. Luke Sintler gets away with it lightly. James Pepper somehow avoided all of that, but what that now has done, unfortunately, he's dropped Leo right the way down to 6th place. He will miss out on the podium, but Luke Sintler and James Pepper closer than ever.
Yeah, and not the best for Leo Bell, of course. He's going to be absolutely devastated with how things turn out there. things happen. It's racing. It's the occupational hazard. Sintler versus Pepper now, and of course Ash Hill immediately able to capitalise on the on the mistakes that were made. And now, of course, with Sintler and Pepper battling going on to the penultimate lap of this race, Hill is going to be immediately there, ready to pounce. Luke Sintler wide though, and caught a bit of a bump going into Sheen, and there is Ash Hill. Boom. Podium result for him. Luke Sintler down to P5 behind now Nathan Williams. That's not going to make an impact on the championship, albeit going to allow Nathan Williams to close up some more points. Jordan Taylor, that's a weird place to spin.
Yeah, I don't know whether that was assisted or not, but at the quickest place on the circuit, that's the worst place, really, to find yourself stranded in the middle of the circuit. Harry Dias went blitzing through in towards Hawthorns. Jordan Taylor has also lost out to Olivia Kronoska, and it's the final of our 14 runners at the moment. So on to the penultimate lap of the race goes Kyle Felbus, James Pepper, Ash Hill, and the man we're looking at the moment, Nathan Williams. He will be gunning for that podium, but Ash Hill, if he can round out his debut season with PASR with a third place, what a story that will be. He's got 8 tenths that he needs to manage over the next 2.5 minutes, because it's around about a 1 minute 40 lap time, and we've gone on to the penultimate lap. So Kyle Felbus, if he can manage this to the end, he will walk away with a cemented championship. James Pepper, he's only 8 tenths away. He will want to try and nick a win towards the very tail end of the season as well, but Ash Hill and Nathan Williams so close, and you'd imagine with 50 seconds of the race remaining, we might just about call this one as the final lap. It will be close, but I think Kyle Felbus will nick another one. Luke Sintler, don't rule him out. Whilst he's down in 5th and he was involved in that little incident between himself and James Pepper getting elbowed wide on the run through Dingle Dell, he could still be on for a podium place, because if Ash Hill and Nathan Williams continue to fight and get closer and closer and closer over the next lap and a half, we could see them slow each other down to the extent that you may see on the final lap of the season, just enough for Luke Sintler to edge his way back into the mix and maybe onto the podium.
Who knows? It's racing at the end of the day. 17 minutes on the clock. I think they might just make it. It's all dependent on as to how quick they can put their foot down. 10 seconds on the clock. Felvis, of course, looks to be winning the race that he takes the championship with. I don't quite think they're going to make it for one more lap. James Pepper gave it everything, but not quite enough.
No, Kyle Felbus to the line for the final time this season. Over the line comes Kyle Felbus to take the final win of the PASR MX-5 Cup, and with it the championship as well. James Pepper over the line to finish P2. Ash Hill, what a story it has been for him, joining PASR halfway through the season and continuing just to chip away at those points, get some good points on the board, and finishes on the podium. P3 gets his hands on £5 cash. Nathan Williams over the line in P4. Luke Sintler, oh, what could have been, crossed the line P5, however, P3 provisionally overall in the standings. Leo Bell, again, oh, what could have been. It would have been a brilliant story if he could nick a win, maybe a second, maybe a third. It wasn't to be, he has to cross the line in 6th. Sam Chilton joining us as well this season on a perfect acceleration sim racing rig, finishing in P7. Kieran Roberts P8, Nathan Staith P9, Peter Cornelius crossed the line in P10, Harry Dias, not necessarily the race he was looking for, but I'm sure we will see him back over the line in P11. Thomas Potter P12, Olivia Kronoska P13, and Jordan Taylor, the final of our 14 finishers, with a bit of a flurry. Like I say, finishing in 14th place. Unfortunately, the retirement we had was Nathan Bell 5 laps away from the end. He did manage to get that car behind the pit wall and to safety. But in the commentary box is our champion, Kyle Felvis. It was, of course, very provisional, still is. But mathematically, you did it in race 1, cemented it in race 2. What a way to round out what has been a brilliant season. Yeah,
definitely. Good race. The bit of contact at the start, but I think, stewards will have a look at it and whatever will be decided. But after that, it was a good race, had some good battles, especially with Leo. I think Leo was defending quite a bit, and then we sort of realised, stop defending, just try and push. And then sadly, Leo made a mistake and I got past. I would have loved to see him win a race, but, to win the last race of the season definitely makes it good.
Yeah, and you've got to think as well, that's 5 wins from start to end, which makes that, 6, 7, 8, 9 podiums out of the season. You've got to be pretty happy with that mathematically. That is a very, very, very successful season. And you might have to correct me if I'm wrong. I think the lowest you finished all season was 4th, which really made your job harder because the drop score was so high. You didn't really have a poor race. What was it that set you apart?
I think this MX-5, I've done a few championships in it now. It's a brilliant little car. I think you don't need to do anything to the car. The one that comes with the game is perfect. I think these create brilliant racing. I mean, you've seen the whole championship. The racing that people can, create is fantastic. And I think the car I love rear wheel drive. I think you'll learn this from me. Front wheel drive, I hate completely. Rear wheel drive is sort of my speciality. So I think, yeah, that definitely helped with this car.
Rear wheel drive you hate completely, but you somehow know how to handle yourself in a Saxo and do it very, very well indeed. Of course, we saw that in the Junior Saloon Car Official E Series. What are the plans for the future? I've got no doubt in my mind that we will see you back, because you definitely know what you're doing, and you're a very popular man in the paddock here at PASR. And what's the plans from here? Because I'm sure you've got your own real life racing endeavours, but hopefully that doesn't mean we lose you in the sim.
I haven't got any real life racing at the moment. I am looking to hopefully do some this year, but racing, it's a difficult topic to talk about, to get into. But yeah, Sim's where it has been for me for the past 4 years. My parents took me to a round in Thruxton. I went on a random sim rig, and yeah, loved it ever since. Started doing sim racing competitions, and I think since then I've just competed in many different championships, and had my wins, had my ups, had my downs. But from here, I think Clio's I'll definitely be doing 100%, stay with PASR, and try and find some other series I can do on different days. Maybe try and set foot in the iRacing scene a bit more. But yeah, hopefully later on in the year can race in real life.
Well, fingers crossed. I'm sure a very rosy future in motorsport, virtual or otherwise, I'm sure, for you, Kyle. I guess the question everybody at home is thinking, you've given up 6 Thursdays to race in the MX-5 Cup. Surely you can spare one more to race in the Transits next week?
Oh, might have to, transit vans, I think that'll make even better than a Saxo or an MX-5, no? They should be brilliant fun.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can see you out there, Kyle. But a massive congratulations from us all here at PASR. It's been a brilliant season. Thank you for showing us what you can do behind the wheel of one of them. And hopefully we can see you again in the future.
Cheers, Jack.
Cheers, Kyle. And Zach, I think you'd be rude not to. James, I'm sorry, but you're being sold out to Zach. Zach, he's all yours.
Oh, sweet. Brilliant. Well, James, well done, mate. Of course, a brilliant evening for you. I believe good enough for P2 in the championship. Not quite enough to take the championship away from Carl Felvis, but nonetheless, just talk us through your season as a whole, reminisce some favourite moments of yours, and all in all, a really good evening tonight as well.
Yeah, it's been amazing for tonight. I wasn't going to catch Kyle. I didn't have any plans to catch him in the first place. I think it was something like 19 points ahead going into this round, so it had needed a miracle for that. But the aim was just to get through, get to P2. And since the start of the season, really, it was a bit of a struggle to get the first win. But then last round, I think it was at Alton, I managed to get that. And I think the second half of the season's been my strongest by far. And I've been able to get the maximum points out of everything I've done, really.
You definitely have. I mean, your consistency has been up there. Of course, a couple of podiums today, some great battles all the way through. Obviously, when it comes to the future, on the Thursdays, I believe we start on the 11th of April. Will we see you in the Clios?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think I can get the Clios because of exams, but it's one to look forward to, maybe if I can get, and just keep trying my best to do championships and things like that. So it's just a case of looking forward to this point.
And again, Jack Rowell, I have to say, another person putting education as a priority in front of their sim racing. It's unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable. How dare you? No, priorities. James Pepper, I understand. Obviously, when it comes to priorities, exams aside and everything like that, are you getting in the Transit next week?
Well, it looks a fun car. Well, fun van, really. Yeah, I'll definitely be having a look, maybe a bit of practice, and I think, yeah, I will.
Oh, a bit of practice. He's taking it seriously.
I know. Like his exams, apparently, as well. James Pepper, best luck for your future, mate. Best luck with your exams, and, well, catch you when we see you.
Cheers, mate.
Awesome stuff. Well, Jack, I mean, it's almost as if education's important or something.
I
don't get it.
We always get this excuse. It was A-levels the other week. We've got GCSEs coming up now. Luke, come on, throw us a bone here. Will we see you out in the future?
Yeah, like everyone else, I've definitely got to put my exams first, really. I mean, it would be nice to do as a little break from revising, if I can, if my parents let me. But so yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some bargaining to be done. I was in your position not so long ago, actually. It feels like a long time ago, but it genuinely wasn't, 4 or 5 years ago. But overall, a fairly successful season. You can walk away holding your head high. You've been on the podium, what, I think 4, 5, maybe even 6 times following on from this evening. You brought that fight to the very end, and you gave us a lot to talk about, and it was a pleasure to watch. But I know we asked you a similar question, but following on from tonight more than anything, how has the championship been? Highs, lows, everything like that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've had a bit of success in the championship, and like I said, I've really enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed driving these cars. I think they're, I mean, I come from go-karting, so they're quite similar to that. So yeah, I've enjoyed every part of it, really.
Great stuff. It's brilliant to hear. We always try and put on a good show at PASR, and hopefully we've managed to host another fabulous championship. But of course, best of luck in your exams. I do wish you all the best. I'm sure everybody does here at PASR and in the paddock. And hopefully we can see you out at the right time, of course, back on the grid, and we'll see you then.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers, Luke. Zach, I think coming into this evening, we were looking at it thinking, how's the championship going to end? And on screen, provisionally, there's still a few bits that may change in that, but Kyle Felver, 16 points clear, 327 points into the 300 club, one of 3 that managed to do it, which isn't exactly an easy feat. Provisionally, he is our champion. James Pepper, P2, Luke Sintler, P3, Nathan Williams, P4, and Leo Bell, P5. But they enter the evening with only one swap in that top 5, but God, did they make it hard work.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, poor Tom O'Farrell just constantly plugging in different results to give us the correct standings, and there they are. Of course, all of them deserve it. Of course, 60, 40, 20, I believe, is the prize divvy for Felvis, Pepper, and Sintler in their respective positions. Shame, of course, for Nathan Williams, who was so close, tied with Sintler coming into it, and of course, only 4 points separate them by the end of the championship. What could have been for Leo Bell as well, looking back in hindsight, it's a powerful thing, but of course, you can only act in the present. What a championship it was. I mean, I was only here for this round, and my, oh my, did I have a lot of fun. Good to be back in the box, of course, with you, Jack, and good to hear all the typical excuses. I mean, I was racing in Bolton for the Rocket Racer Star Formula 4 Esports Competition UK the weekend before my GCSE started. I had the Saturday and the Sunday away, and then I had my RE exam first thing Monday morning. So it's just it's poor excuses, but nonetheless, I mean, yeah, they've got priorities. Luke Sintler can now take some 20 quid in his pocket. He can get some well, a ridiculous amount of caffeine to fuel him through his exams, I'm sure.
Yeah, let's not talk about exams. They didn't necessarily go my way, but I'm here now and having the time of my life.
That's probably why.
Probably why I'm here, to be honest. We can't really complain. But there you can see the championship prizes and how they are divvied up. Absolutely, you nailed it, Zach. 60, 40, 20 for those top 3, so they can walk away, hopefully invest in some more sim racing equipment or maybe some new stationery, depending on what stage they're at with their education or their sim racing priorities. I'm sure they sway one way or the other. Of course, a massive thank you to 2F Media Productions, Free M UK, as well as Pro Sim Rig and One Grip Monte Carlo for making everything happen, and they will continue to support us into our future endeavours. Of course, next week, Thursday the 21st of March, we've got a free to enter, no sign up required one-off race on the way, a similar layout to this evening, the same layout as what will go into the Clio, so a 15-minute qualifying session followed by 2 20-minute races. Race 1, the grid set by quali. Race 2, the top 10 reversed. For a bit of fun, if you've watched just this evening, if you've watched just the past couple of rounds, or you've been watching the entire season, or maybe more, please do feel free to get involved. It'll be a great laugh, and it's always good to see new faces in it and around the paddock here at Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing. If you're here to stay, which I'm hoping a lot of you are, we have a slightly longer championship on the way. The 11th of April, we kick off the PASR Clio World Series at Donington Park, the GP layout, so the double Italian round at Imola and Misano, the 18th. April and the 9th of May with a big break in between, and then it's the 16th of May for Alton Park International. The 23rd of May we go to Laguna Seca, and the 30th of May we round it all out at Zolder. And bets on, we always say it cannot be closer than this, and the Clio World Series, I'm sure it'll give us a run for our money. Unfortunately, I can't make that one due to real life commentary commitments, most of which involving Clios as well, funny enough. Zach, coming out of this evening, it's, I mean, quick final words, but you can't really get bored of what we've seen this evening. And believe me when I say it, out of every single round from Donington Park to Brands Hatch, I keep saying it won't get closer, it won't get closer. And what does it do? It gets closer every single time. And what an introduction to not only the MX-5 Cup, but to PASR.
Yeah, of course, today was just a bit of a bedding in day for me, because you're not going to have Jack Rowell. You're going to be stuck with me for a whole season of the Clios, you lucky lot, I suppose. But yeah, on the 11th of April, of course, that championship will kick off. And to be fair, I love Clios. Any sort of not to undermine them, but sort of the slower cars, albeit front wheel drive or rear wheel drive, just the entry level cars as such, the MX-5s, the Clios, whatever, always provide such good racing because they are so accessible to each and every single person. There are so many different race dynamics that go on, whether you're slow or fast. Everyone can have their day in the spotlight, and it always ends up being very, very close in the championship. So yeah, I've had a ton of fun. Of course, speaking to all the drivers, they themselves have had a lot of fun, which is what we all do it for: the passion, the excitement, the enjoyment of going out there on the virtual track and just having a good time. Prize money aside, they've gone out there, they've enjoyed themselves in what has been a very, very tense championship. So yeah, see you all when we head for the Clios, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the final time this season, thank you so much everybody at home that's been watching along. If you are just joining us this evening, please, I do urge you to go back and watch the season and how we ended up in the situation we did tonight. It will be hopefully a fabulous watch. If you want to put it on mute and not listen to me, by all means. But for myself, Jack Werrell, Zach Sweeney joining me this evening, it's been a pleasure. Of course, Tom O'Farrell somehow keeping up with everything that's going on, updating the points and everything else in the background from 2F Media Productions, and of course Mixers behind it all at PASR. If you want to learn more, head over to www.perfectacceleration.co.uk, and if you want to get involved, please do feel free to do so. Like I say, it's brilliant to see the ever expanding paddock here at PASR. But from myself, Zach, Tom and Mick here for the final time this season, we wish you well. Bye bye.